Tara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
She was pregnant at 40 and 44. Her first pregnancy was natural, and her second one, she used donor eggs.
My name is Tara Bracker, and two children. My first child, Sailor, who is now 6, was born naturally or conceived naturally. And then my son, Jensen, who just turned 2 in December, we had secondary infertility. And so he was conceived using an egg donor. When I started thinking about my fertility, I kind of knew from an early age that I was going to have issues having children. My mother and her mother both went into menopause in their 40s, pretty early into their 40s. This was always in the back of my head, but really nothing I could do about it because egg freezing wasn't really a thing in my 20s at all. I'm 46 right now, so go back 26 years, it's really wasn't an option. I think there was definitely fertility places back then, but they were very different to what they do now. And also, the money that it costs to do egg freezing was just out of my range. So I moved up to Denver in 2013, and I had the opportunity to meet with a few folks that had done egg freezing, but also I realized that I had a lot of benefits with the company I started working for, and that was something that I had never had before. So it didn't exactly cover the egg freezing process, but it did cover all of the medical process getting to that point. So basically, if you're going through IVF without actually making an embryo, right? It didn't pay for the freezing of the eggs or the storage of the eggs, but getting to that point, the medication, doing the shots, the medical appointments, the ultrasounds, it did cover all of that, which was very surprising. So at the end of the day, I think I spent maybe $10,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but in the reality of things, it's actually a pretty
It's
good
not bad.
discount from what it would have been out of pocket. I had to think long and hard about it, but I knew I didn't have a lot of time. I was 36 at this point. So, and I had never gotten tested. I didn't know any of my numbers. I just knew that I really wanted to have children and I was still single and I didn't want to rush the whole finding someone process either. So I went in and I actually didn't start at CCRM. I started at Conceptions, which is another competitor out here, a very good facility as well. I went through the process by myself and I had to make the decision, do I want to freeze my eggs? Will I use these someday, whether I'm by myself or with someone? And I think that was something that I really thought long and hard about. I talked to my parents about it, which of course they were very supportive, but just kind of like, oh, okay, I didn't even know this was something that you could do, right? Because why would they? They had me at 23. I had no fertility issues. They were done having kids by 26 and they got married at 19. It was just a very different world back then. So yeah, I went ahead and did the first round of IVF by myself and my numbers were not great as soon as I got the blood work back. And I had a feeling it wasn't going to be great, but it was a lot worse than I thought. But they were like, let's move forward. Let's try and see how many eggs we get. I ended up with 5 eggs, only 3 were viable. So we froze 3 eggs. But just going through that whole process by myself was just kind of this like whirlwind of emotions. I sat on that for a little while, and literally 6 months later, I had a wonderful nurse there who kept following up with me. And they were like, I really think you should do another round if you want more than one child someday. Like, yes, this won't guarantee anything, but let's try. And I still had benefits because the new year had started. So
Perfect.
I got 3 eggs again. Three is
Wow.
the number. Disappointed, yes, but I had 6 eggs on ice, and I was like, okay, well, this would get me one child, right? Maybe I could use this for one child. And then that was kind of the end of it. I made the decision to not really talk about it with anybody I dated because I was dating not a ton of people, but I had a couple relationships before I met my husband, and I just kind of kept it to myself because I was like, this is going to scare someone away. Fast forward, I meet my husband in like 2000. I can't do the math. Maybe end of 2015, I think is when we met. And we ended up meeting online, which is
How
so
old were
fun.
you?
I was 38 and we fell in love really quick. We knew we wanted to be together. And we started talking about the whole child thing pretty quickly, surprisingly. I think I was just really comfortable and it just felt like I need to know if you even are interested in having kids because you're so much younger than me. And I was worried that his answer was going to be no, to be honest. So his answer was, well, it's not that I don't, and it's not that I do. It's just I never have been with someone that I even had that thought process, right? And I think
Yeah.
that also a testament to his age, right, at the time. Like, I'm sure that doesn't really come up in a lot of 20 or 29, whatever age we talked about this at. Year old's minds, number one. Number two, I just think he hadn't had met someone that he felt like he could do that with. To me, that was a yes. And we went on our first trip together a couple months later to Cabo. And it was funny. I was like, I need to tell him about this egg freezing stuff. And I was like, I gotta do it before we leave. I don't know why I was like forcing myself, but I felt like I was hiding something, when you just don't feel like you're totally being yourself. And
Yeah.
I knew this was the real thing, and I knew I wanted to be with him. And I was like, this is probably going to really scare him away. He's probably going to leave me in Cabo. That's what was going through my brain.
Yeah. Your brain really
Yeah.
goes far.
Yeah. The brain really goes far with these things. And so I told him, and he was like, oh, I'm a fertility baby. And I was like, what? Like, we just
What?
never had that conversation. So his mom, so he's the second child, he's the middle child, and she was having trouble getting pregnant because I think there's 6 years maybe between him and his sister, and then there's another 5 years before she had his younger brother. But yeah, back then it was just fertility drugs. Because I mean, he was born in 1986, so whatever they used in that time period. But yeah, I mean, he was very like aware of fertility drugs, for how that works, and it was the easiest conversation I ever had with anybody, any man, about fertility stuff. So I was like, okay, I really worried about this for weeks for absolutely nothing. I think that just brought our relationship to a whole nother level too,
Yeah.
because I just felt like, okay, this person understands me. So I remember his mom saying, and she'll probably listen to this too, but I remember he told me that his mom was like, well, do you want to give her a ring first or give her a baby first? And he's like, definitely a baby. And this was like a year, and this wasn't like the next day. This was
Yeah.
like a year into our relationship. And I think he just knew that my clock was ticking like pretty hardcore. I mean, I had only gotten 6 eggs after 2 rounds of IVF, and like why go on birth control and stop and not try when the chances of me, every doctor had told me that it was like less than 10% of conceiving naturally with a live birth because of my numbers just being so terrible. So
Hmm.
yeah, my AMH was super low, my follicle count was really low. I think it was like 7 maybe, which is not great for a 38-year-old. I think most people have a few more than that. And so yeah, we tried but didn't try, like, it was just kind of like no birth control basically.
Uh-huh.
And let's see, it would have been the fall of 2016, I think it was. We actually got pregnant, and I was shocked because we were like, this is not going to happen. We're going to end up having to use these eggs. Like, and unfortunately, after a couple of weeks, we learned that it was a miscarriage. And so we lost
Uh,
that baby at 9.5 weeks. And I was still under the care of the fertility place. So thankfully, we got a lot of, I feel like, extra things and things that I advocated for that maybe we wouldn't have if I was just a regular person. So we
like
ended up
what?
just getting the embryo tested. And that was something
Okay.
I had read about, but I didn't know if they would do it. I didn't know if it would cost $1 million or if like insurance would pay
Right.
for something like that. And I was like, but I really need to know because I was on a lot of medication. I've had a couple of surgeries for discs in my neck. And I was like, did the medication, like, did that kill the baby? Like, first
Yeah.
pregnancy, you just don't know. I'm like, did my body like harm the baby? Like, was the medication I was taking harming the baby? So anyways, we did end up having a DNC, which I'm so glad I went that route because I've heard nightmare stories about going the other route. And where there was enough tissue to get tested, and it did come back that it was trisomy 14, which is actually pretty rare, interestingly. It made us feel better that we knew that it wasn't me or him that like caused this problem, but it did set off a series of tests for both of us, which was good because at that point we had just conceived naturally, right? We knew I could get pregnant. So I guess that was like a positive step in the right direction. I guess the doctors were curious, or was one of us walking around with extra 14, and we were okay with, like, you can have trisomies or different extra chromosomes or genetic things that you look totally fine, but you could still have something going on, right? Like, how people have a lot of like the inverted chromosome, like they're on the wrong side, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't know it. I forgot what that's called, but so anyways, we got like one of those 250 panel chromosome. Are you carrier for this? Are your chromosomes normal?
Yeah.
Thankfully, we were both completely normal. We had the right number of chromosomes, and we were carriers each for one thing, but not the same thing. So that was
That's
good to know
good.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he had gotten his sperm tested as well, and it was all really good with his age. Like, I wasn't surprised that it was fine, right? So that was in 2016. And then, yeah, so we were like, okay, we have those 6 eggs on ice, but let's try and do a round of IVF like together, right? Because I had
Uh-huh.
only had those eggs frozen. And we were they're like, let's wait until you start your cycle to buy the meds. It's $5,000. It's not refundable. You can't send them back. Like,
Yes.
let's just make sure, like, before we start the meds or buy the meds, because they can ship them overnight. You probably know how that works. Like, it
Uh-huh.
comes fast. So it was like 2 weeks had gone by. I hadn't started my cycle. And she never said to see if you're pregnant. She said to see like if, something's off, right, with your
Uh-huh.
cycle. She calls me like an hour later, you're pregnant. I was like, what? And I was at my office. I hid in
Oh.
the office and like screamed internally, right? Like, and started
Yeah.
crying. Like, didn't tell anybody, obviously. And I called Mitch and he was like, what? He's like, are you joking? I'm like, no. And so like I rushed home like as soon as I was done and celebrated, but I was still like petrified, right? Because this was another natural conception. I'm like, great, it's going to end up in the same problem that we
Yeah.
already had. Like, it's not going to work. And
Yeah.
Sailor, that was, I mean,
Amazing.
yeah, we had like all the testing done. We had the NIPT testing because we obviously it was a natural conception and came back low, virtually no issues, whatever that is. I think it's like no low probability or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was so anxious the whole time. I mean, I was
Yeah.
the worst pregnant person because I was just worried it was going to end every time I went in for a scan.
Yeah.
But I was really lucky. CCRM recommended the OB literally across the hall. Like I just had to walk across the hall from Midtown OB and this wonderful lady, Dr. Offerdal, and she and I just clicked right away. She had her last baby at like 42 or 43. She had IVF and natural pregnancies. So like we had a lot in common. And I mean, that poor woman, I'd make her like bring in the old school like scanner, like that rolls into the room that you can barely see the baby on, like every time I went in. And she's like, call me if you need like if you get nervous or something doesn't feel right, like you can come in anytime. And I thought that was just so helpful, especially in the beginning, because you go from the fertility clinic seeing them like every week, sometimes twice, and then you're like,
Yes.
oh, 4 weeks? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
did make it 4 weeks. Like once it got like to that cadence, I was
Yeah.
like sort of okay, but I was just so anxious the whole
Yeah.
time.
Sorry, going back to your miscarriage. Did it
Sure.
help you like mentally to have all that testing to know that information?
Yeah. I mean, I was still super upset and it was very, very
Of
devastating.
course.
I was super sad and just didn't know how to process it. And we weren't expecting to be pregnant to begin with. So I think then losing the baby shortly after was even more shocking to us. But I will say, like, once those test results came in, I mean, I remember exactly where I was sitting. It was at an apartment we were living in at the time. And we got that call from the nurse, and it was like 8 o'clock at night. It was late for some reason. She had like worked super late that day. And she was kind enough to just be like, I literally just got the results like in my email. And she was like, I know you've been so upset. Like, I just want you to know, like, there's nothing, this baby wouldn't have survived, like, no matter what. Right. So it wasn't compatible with life, I don't think. So yeah, I think it definitely like closed the question mark box, right, for us of
Yeah.
like, could we have done something different? And we couldn't have, right? I mean, this is like the natural way of taking care of something that's not going to work, right? A baby wasn't going to be able to survive that chromosomal abnormality. It happens so often, people just don't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why we were like, yeah, we're going to talk about it. As soon as we started talking about it with friends and family, we were like, oh, I had a miscarriage. Really? Like, I didn't know that. I've known you for
Yep.
20 years. Like, I didn't know that. Like, why didn't you ever tell us? We could have been like there for you. Oh, well, we just kept it private. I mean, it's way better than it used to be. People are talking about things way more, but back then I think people just didn't talk about.
How was Sailor's birth? Did everything go okay there?
Yeah, I had a really good pregnancy. The only thing that we kept an eye on since I was literally I had turned 40 in April and I had her in November. So
Uh-huh.
I was still 40 when I gave birth to her. And I know this is pretty common that at 39 weeks, when you're advanced maternal age, they usually induce you at 39 weeks. I knew that was coming and I was totally fine with that. I was like, if you need to take her out at 37, like if you think something's wrong, take her out, whatever you need to do. And I was open to a C-section or like, it didn't matter. I just wanted a healthy baby. I wanted myself to be healthy and go home with a healthy baby, right? So yeah, I mean, everything worked according to plan. I went in at like my almost 39-week appointment. Maybe it was like 38 weeks or whatever it was. And she's like, well, I'm on call this weekend and you're really uncomfortable. Like I couldn't like sit anymore. Like I literally couldn't find a comfortable spot. I worked from home. So it was like I could just lay on my couch with my computer on my lap. I couldn't even like lay on the couch. It was just, I ended up like bouncing on one of those big balls. Like I was just miserable. And my anxiety was getting worse because I was just wanting to make sure everything went okay. And I didn't know what birth was going to be like. So, nevertheless, she was like, all right, I think you're done. Like, let's just, so it was like 38 in like 2 days or whatever it was. And so I was scheduled to come in like Sunday. And then they're like, well, a lot of people walked into L&D today. So can you come at like 11:30 p.m.? And I was like, sure. I remember like we got my mom there, like, because I think we had had a few days to like plan that was going to be like that Sunday or whatever. So she's in Boston. So we flew her out. I wanted her to be there for the birth and she wanted to be in the room and Mitch was okay with that. So, and yeah, like literally we get there Sunday, like almost midnight, and I didn't have her till like Wednesday or Thursday. It was
Oh
ridiculous.
my gosh.
It was a long induction and it took like 3 or 4 days. It was insane. I think I was in
Yeah.
like 31 hours of labor and I was probably an hour away from a C-section because I just wasn't dilating at all.
Uh-huh.
It was just the longest. I mean, my poor mom and Mitch were just like on and off sleeping. I can't really sleep because I'm hooked up to all these machines. They're beeping, like it's just ridiculous. They're checking me every like 2 hours. And finally, like it must have been Wednesday. Maybe it was Wednesday. Finally, they're like, you're dilated like 8 centimeters. I'm like, let's go then. Two more. We only got to go two more. And then finally, like, but I think I pushed for like 2.5 hours. I mean, it was just like
Ugh.
slow going. I was like, but my doctor did say to me, I remember, I'll never forget. She's like, if I was a male doctor, you would have for sure had a C-section. She's like, you're lucky I'm a woman. Male doctors just don't have as much patience with it, right? Yeah, there was nothing wrong. Like the heartbeat was fine. I was fine. My blood pressure, there was nothing wrong with either of us. So there was no reason to stop trying
Uh-huh.
before we had, before going to a C-section. And yeah, it ended up being fine. She came out. She was beautiful, happy. Like I was bawling. Everyone's crying.
So, did you always know you wanted a second?
No, we were like, we're just going and done for sure. It wasn't that we didn't want a second. I was just like, there's no way. It was a miracle that Sailor was born, like was a natural conception anyways.
Uh-huh.
We're like, it's just impossible. Like, how are we ever going to have a second? And we both had agreed, like, we'll be happy with just one, right? Like, I was 40 years old. And it's so funny at that point in time. And I know so many more people now, but I was like, I'm so old, but I'm like, I'm really not, right? Like,
Yeah.
I really wasn't that old having her because now, like, I know people are 50, over 50 having babies. So I was probably young compared to some people, but I think all of my friends, I mean, I have friends right now who have kids that are in college and I have a 2-year-old, right? I was the worst anxious person. Like my husband would make me like go, we had a condo at the time. So he'd make me go upstairs, put earplugs in and he'd stay down in the living room with Sailor and like just let me sleep because if I was awake, I would just watch her sleep because I was so anxious that she was gonna like stop breathing. I'm like a good functioning anxious person, but I go to therapy for anxiety. It definitely came out after she was born for sure.
Yeah, I can see myself doing the same thing. So, let's go to trying for your second.
Yeah, and how that came about.
Yeah, how did you
Yeah.
get there?
So I think Sailor turned one, and we were like, she's such a great kid. She's so like adorable. She's so smart. Like she's so fun to be around. And then I think we both kind of started thinking about like down the road, like I'm older, right? I mean, he's 37 now, but at the end of the day, we're still like older parents compared to what our parents were. We don't want Sailor to just be by herself. What if something ever happened to us? Or like, I'm clearly gonna be gone before him because I'm ancient. But just you think about like down the road, right? Wouldn't it be so awesome to give her like a sibling? So that was at like year one. And so I think like further into 2018, almost 2019, we're like, let's start trying again. Let's see what happens. Like we got pregnant with her, like, see what happens. I got pregnant again. And we were surprised, but also like, okay, well, I can get pregnant. This time we used ovulation sticks and really see when my window of opportunity was the first time around. And then I did take a lot of supplements the second time around too, like another round of IVF. The normal like CoQ10, I think it was like acai something. I don't remember all the supplements, but there were a lot of them. I do think that definitely helped the quality. That might be why we got pregnant with Sailor. I'd started the supplements again, but that was pretty much it. Like we didn't go see another fertility doctor yet or anything like that for the second round of trying and got pregnant. And unfortunately, the 9.5 week mark, same exact time, had another miscarriage, no heartbeat. And this time we kind of knew because when we went in for the first scan at like 7, she was like, that's like under 100. The heartbeat was really low. And
Uh-huh.
and the baby was measuring like a week behind. Sometimes this turns around, but most of the time it doesn't. And so it wasn't a huge surprise to us that it happened, but it was still awful. I actually took it a little better this time because I had Sailor to focus on. And I know that sounds sad because I was just as upset, but I couldn't like dwell as much because I had a 2-year-old. I ended up getting a DNC again, and we were same doctor, same OB, and she was able to test the fetus. And this time it was Down syndrome and an extra chromosome like 7. So it was obviously not compatible with life again. But it was interesting that it was Down syndrome. And so I asked her about like the statistics of that. And she's like, once you're like start creeping up into your 40s, like I think the percentages go way, way up for Down syndrome.
Hmm.
And then we were like, okay, what do we do now? Like, we don't know what to do. Do we just say we're happy with Sailor and move on? Which was hard because there's so many people that can't even have one child, never mind two, right? So you
Yeah.
feel guilty about it. Like, should I be sad that I can't have a second? Or like, let's try a new facility. My doctor had left conceptions. I wasn't really happy with like the new person. And I was like, CCRM has way better numbers. Their stats are just better. We've heard a lot of great things about some of the doctors. So we were like, let's go back there and try a round of our own because we never did that because Sailor, I ended up getting pregnant with Sailor. So we
Hmm.
never actually tried a round with just the two of us.
Hmm.
So we had this wonderful doctor, Dr. Barton, and we did IVF and we got 3 eggs. Shocking, I know. So that was my third round with 3 eggs, which was like, of course, there's 3 eggs. That's just my number. They all fertilized, surprisingly. Only one made it to blastocyst out of the three. So we only had one that we could test. I was shocked that we even got that. I am a realist. It's not that I'm pessimistic, I'm just a realist. And I was like, there's no way. There's one embryo. It's not going to be normal. I just knew it wasn't going to be. Because at this point, I'm like 43. And I'm like, it's just my other eggs were frozen at 36. Oh, I forgot. I missed the whole part of the story. We tried to use those 6 eggs that I froze, and none of them made it to blastocyst. So they were all gone. I
And
forgot
you
that.
did that before you did another egg retrieval.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
devastating.
so nevertheless, we didn't have those either to use. So we did get that one embryo from the round that we did in 2019, and it had 3 abnormalities. Doctor said there's a 10% chance of you getting a normal embryo anyways. So we knew the chances were very, very low. And she was like, I really don't want you to do another round. Because we were like, should we do another round? Because it was kind of covered by my insurance of
Uh-huh.
some of it.
You've had some great insurance.
Finance companies just end up having a lot. And living in Colorado, they have a lot of laws that have been passed in the last couple of years that mandate you to have some sort of coverage. They've been definitely proactive with those laws here in Colorado. She was like, I don't think you should do another round. And we kind of took her advice and she's like, I think you should start looking at donor eggs. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like we had never heard it. We didn't know what you were talking about. We met with her and talked to her about it, but we kind of sat on it. And then the end of 2019 into 2020, COVID happened. We were like, okay, now we're really not thinking about it. And we were dealing with life, right?
Uh-huh.
So I think end of summer 2020, we'd like bring it up. I think we had come to the conclusion like we could probably go the donor route, but we're like, we need to meet with the therapist again, like just to talk through, like they make you meet with, I'm sure you probably went through this, but
Yep.
what was the best thing that could have happened to us? So Mitch and I were sitting there at brunch. Sailor's like eating breakfast, being silly, and like, why are we sitting on this? And he's like, or he brought it up. He's like, why are we waiting? He's like, look at her. Like, in 10 years, are we going to think, did we not just do this because we were scared and because of the financial aspect? And I was like, yeah, but I just like didn't bring it up the whole time because I was like, we're in this like COVID craziness. Like, no one knows if we're going to be alive tomorrow. It was just such a weird time. Like, it was
Yeah.
just, I think it was the last thing on my mind. And so I'm like, okay. And I literally picked up the phone and called the next day. We want to come in and talk to you about it again. So we went and met with the therapist, and it was like 2 hours of like really talking through. And I think what we ultimately concluded was that Mitch thought I would look at another baby and not see myself in this baby and look at Sailor and see like we're twins. We look exactly alike, like minus the hair, but and like just feel differently, right? And he was worried that that would cause a lot of problems with me, like just within my brain, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't worried about that at all. I was worried about like in the future, like is I couldn't figure out how to talk to Sailor about like, well, you're biological and your brother is like, or your sister, whatever. We didn't know at the time, but like, I was more worried about like long term, not like short term. So we were just worried about different things. And I don't know why we never like talked about that, but we just didn't. We needed someone to like intervene and help us talk through it.
Or just open up the topics alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the therapist was just a really wonderful therapist there. And literally walked out of there and we're like, okay, we are on the same page. It's not that we weren't on the same page. We just weren't talking about what our fears, right?
Yeah.
So we started the process like the next day, which I mean, not a quick process, as you know. You
Yeah.
think it's gonna be like, okay, I can have, I can be pregnant in like a month.
Uh-uh. You got at least like three. At least three.
We started like going through the process, like the financial aspect, and we're like, where are we gonna get this money from? Like where we don't have $40,000 or sitting in
Yeah.
our accounts. We're like, we'll take it out of somewhere and pay it back. Like we'll figure it out. And I mean, I think a lot of people probably sit there and like crunch numbers and figure out what they're gonna do and how they're going to pay for it. And I think at the end of the day, we were just like, we don't want to take it out of here, but at the end of the day, we want another child. So we just decided to move forward with it. And we also were like, let's start looking at donors. So we decided to use the database that they had internally. We didn't want to go outside of CCRM, which ultimately it was very happy with, but it also narrows down your selection a lot.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, okay, there's nobody in here that looks like me. And I think a lot of it was COVID, right? Like I'm sure they didn't have as many donors as they normally have because it was the middle of COVID.
Sure.
But luckily, I had gotten to know the nurses really well. I had gotten to know the lady who ran the donor database at CCR pretty well. And I was like, we need your help. Like, can you please, like, other people coming up in the pipeline that we don't see yet on the database that, maybe would be a good fit? Our only criteria really in the beginning was I wanted someone that kind of looked like me. My husband has dark hair, like beard. I don't know if you can see him in pictures, but he's got a lot darker features, right? And I just wanted to like, if I could have one thing, have like a little bit of me in this
Uh-huh.
child.
So you were looking for maybe blonde hair?
Blonde, blue eyes, yeah.
Okay.
But I honestly, the eye color didn't, I mean, just blonde hair, fair skin was like really like the beginning. I
Uh-huh.
also like didn't want a lot of like mental health issues. I didn't want like a lot of cancer issues. I mean, you've seen the profiles. There's a lot of information.
Yeah.
The great thing about CCRM's database is a lot of people don't even make it to the donor part because they screen very, very heavily. I mean, they told us that like a good percentage of the people that come in that want to donate don't make it through the psychological testing. That's like the
Wow.
first criteria. So that was really interesting. So I did feel like whoever we did pick was at least like really, really vetted through this process.
Yeah.
And I think almost all of them were proven donors. There might have been a few new ones in there, but we could see like the difference between that. And then we also wanted frozen eggs. So that was it was a little bit less expensive to do
Yep.
frozen.
We did.
Yeah, that was another criteria because we also knew that we didn't want to have like 5 more kids. Like we just wanted one more. So
Right.
I didn't want like 75 eggs. Joking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say. And other people were definitely in a different boat and wanted the fresh because they wanted to get as many eggs as possible because they didn't have any children yet. So we ended up picking a donor. Finally, the database coordinator was like, I have one coming up. She's in the process of doing her egg freezing right now. I think she'd be perfect. So we looked at her profile and like they let us like as soon as she went like live, we're like, okay, that's ours. Like we paid that day. Well, because she hadn't like donated yet, or no, she was in the process of doing it. She was literally about, so we had to wait like a month or two. I don't remember the exact like timeline, but so we're waiting. The day before she's about to have her surgery for egg retrieval, she got COVID. And we're
Oh
like,
no.
they had to cancel the whole site. They had to cancel because at that point, I mean, we couldn't even go to their office without getting tested for COVID. I mean, it was pretty like, this was like early 2021, right? No vaccines yet, nothing. So they were like, do you want to wait until she gets better and like maybe in 3 or 4 months, maybe she can do another cycle? And I'm like, no, I've already waited 3 months. Like you're at that point where you're like, no, I'm not waiting any longer. And it took us a month or two just to pick her to begin with because it was such an overwhelming process to pick the donor for at least for me it was. And I kind of like started the process and then I would narrow them down and show them to Mitch because I didn't want him to have to look through like 50 of these.
Uh-huh.
And I was being very thorough. It's just the way my brain works. I wanted to like read all of them, like
Uh-huh.
front to back. So it took me a while to really go through them all, but literally picked another donor within 48 hours. It took me like
Nice.
a month to pick the first one. And I was like, okay. And that's who we ended up with. That's Jensen. The fact that I picked someone so quickly after, I think at that point I was just over it. I was like, we need someone like, and there happened to be a bunch of people that had gotten through their cycles and frozen their eggs and in the database that fit my criteria. So I had way more to pick from than I did like when I looked the first time because I hadn't
Uh-huh.
looked at the database again because there was no reason to. I was waiting for this person. I think this was her fourth time donating. I don't know if it told us if there were any live births. I can't remember if CCRM discloses that, or maybe like the nurse was able to tell us that part. But I think we'd
If
known that maybe there was one live birth from her eggs before. But
yeah, so you didn't know she was a proven donor.
yeah, I maybe I did. I feel like I did know that she had one live birth from her eggs. I think we knew that.
If I
Um,
had to do it again, I think that would be important to me.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
doing it the first time, I had no idea. But after we went through the process, I was like, oh yeah, that would be very important again.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I think it's so hard though, because at that point you're like, you've gone through everything else just to get to this point, right? I
Yeah,
mean, people who go this route, it's not because they just feel it, they've been through like 17 other things first, right? So
right.
you're just so desperate, number one, but also just like in a hurry.
Hmm.
But I'm glad that, everything works out for a reason, right? Like I'm not religious or anything, but we wouldn't have Jensen if it wasn't for this second donor kind of jumping in, right?
Yep.
Whether she knew it or not. And so, yeah, so we ended up using her.
How many eggs did you buy?
That's what I was just gonna say.
Okay.
So there are lots come in lots of 8 at
Okay.
CCR. And of course, like the more you buy, the more expensive it is, of course.
Yep.
But they said any odd number lots, they would be willing to sell like egg by egg, right? Like
Uh-huh.
it wasn't a perfect lot of 8. So there were like 3 left over that didn't like fit into a lot of 8. And I had talked to Jeannie actually about this, but I remember talking to Jeannie because she had done it right before. I mean, her daughter's only like a month or two older than Jensen.
Mhm.
So she had literally so we were kind of like going back and forth, like, how many did you buy? How many did you buy? Like, it's kind of funny, like we're buying like a car or something, but we knew that there were 3 extra. And at the time, it's probably way more now, but it was like $1,000 for each egg extra. And I'm like, well, you're already spending $40,000, whatever it is. What's another 3? Like,
Yeah.
at this point. So we were like, yes, let's grab those. And I'm so glad we did because out of 11 eggs, I think 9 or 8 or 9 fertilized. And we got 6 blastocysts, I think.
Wow.
And then we got 3 normal and 1 mosaic.
That's
So, I mean,
great.
really like 3, right? Like out of 11 eggs, we only got 3 normal. And Mitch is young. So it's not like, it's
Uh-huh.
just not every egg is perfect, right? Like,
Yep.
so we had 2 boys and a girl. I don't remember what the mosaic was. It's funny with Sailor, we didn't know what Sailor was until she came out because it was natural pregnancy, and we decided not to find out because we thought she was going to be it, and we just wanted to be surprised.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, well, we asked our doctor, we're like, well, are they all the same? She's like, no, you have both. And then she's like, and you have equal of both. So maybe the mosaic was a girl. So then we're like, okay, like we were asking like pointed questions. So we're like, okay, so we're not going to be surprised. So I kind of wanted to have another girl, but Mitch was like, wouldn't it be great to have one of you? Like, we're only going to do this once. Like, wouldn't it be great to have a boy? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I mean, I'm so glad like that we chose boy, but so we did choose the gender. And it was also, we also asked about the quality, and the 2 best quality, they were equal, exactly like 6 BB. And it was 1 boy and 1 girl that was 6 BB. So it
Wow.
wasn't like one was better than the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we just ended up choosing boy. And that's when we used. So we transferred April of 2021, and then he was born December of 2021.
Wow. So
Yeah.
take us through like your transfer and the 2-week
Mm.
wait and
Oh
finding
yeah.
out.
Yeah. So the transfer, yeah, I mean, that was pretty like much easier than the egg retrieval for sure. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
can eat, you drink a lot of water, you go in, lay down, you get some Valium. It was great. I mean, way easier, right? But yeah, no, I have a video of it. I don't think we were supposed to take one, but Mitch took one anyway. So we have a video of them like putting the catheter into my uterus, which is really cool. So I can show, when we showed Sailor and we showed like our parents, and they were like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then we have got a picture of the embryo. And so we actually have that painted over his changing table in his room.
Oh,
We had someone
neat.
paint it. And he knows like the whole story, which I can talk about after. But yeah, so the transfer went fine. And then it's funny. Some doctors are like, you need to get on bed rest. Other doctors are like, go run a marathon. I mean, it's really like all over the place.
It really is.
I'm like, well, you know what? Like, my mom's going to be here. We flew my mom out. I'm like, well, I'll just rest. Let's just go the resting route. And I didn't want like Sailor jumping on me or like me having to pick her up, even though she was 4. Like, I just was nervous. I would get up here and there, but I mostly like stayed like resting for a couple days. And then, yeah, I mean, that 2 weeks sucked like it does for everybody. Cause I was like, and I didn't test or anything because I didn't
Ooh.
really. It's funny. I mean, I'd been following a lot of people on Instagram by that point, and I was like, that's just going to make me more crazy because I'm not gonna be able to read the lines. I have no idea. Like, and I just, yeah, so I never tested. And so we went in at the 2 week mark. Oh, wait, did we go in before that? No, we went in at the 2 week mark and I did the test. Like, they're like, come in really early. And it was like a terrible day in Colorado. Like, it was like sleeting. I don't know what it was doing. And I drove all the way out to Lone Tree. Like, they have an office in Denver, but they do all the lab stuff, like all the official lab stuff down at the big office, like in Lone Tree. So I drove all the way there. It took forever. And I was like, oh, good. Well, I'm going to be like the first one here. And so they'll call me soon. It was like 1 o'clock. So I paced in my office for hours, like back and forth. I had like all these phone calls for work and I could barely focus. So then the phone finally rings at like 1 o'clock and it's the doctor. And the nurse told me she was going to call me, not the doctor. So I'm like, nope,
Oh
didn't work.
no.
And she's like, hi, this is Dr. Barton, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it didn't work, right? I didn't even let her finish. I did not even let her say a word. I was like, you're calling to tell me it didn't work. She's like, Tara, it's okay. You're pregnant. And I was like, what? So I like I ran down the stairs to find Mitch. I almost fell down the stairs. Like, it was just disaster. I was a disaster. So yeah, it worked. I was shocked because I had heard like so many stories about like sometimes the first transfer doesn't work. Like it doesn't always work. But my husband did keep telling me, like, you have been pregnant 3 times. Like, you don't have a problem getting pregnant. You just have poor quality eggs, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a lot of people just can't even get pregnant, right? Like, never, they all have all these problems, the uterus, whatever that might
Yeah.
be.
That was pretty much my story. Is
Yeah,
I've had two miscarriages and I can get pregnant. I just can't keep them.
yeah. But it was
Do
always poor quality. It was always a chromosomal issue with you.
No, I never even knew.
Oh,
I never got that far to
you never got
even
that far.
know.
Yeah.
And we tried to have it tested, but I don't think I got any
No.
tissues.
Yeah.
Do you remember your HGC levels?
Yeah, I think the first one was like I want to say it was like high, like it was pretty high. Like it wasn't 100, but it was high. It was
Uh-huh.
like 70 or 80. And then I remember going back like 2 days later, getting it again, and it had tripled or quadrupled. So that was good. So I wasn't like super nervous about it's funny, like I was more nervous about that first like call, the first phone call, like from the blood test, because I hadn't tested. So I really went in there like not knowing
Yeah.
anything. But once I got like a decent number that first call, and I remember asking the nurse, like, is that a good number? Is that a bad number? Like, so I was like a crazy person, like everyone probably. She's like, no, that's really good. Like, you don't want it to be under 50, I think is what they usually say, right? If it's under 50, it could go either way. But yeah, no, it was like, it was pretty high. And then, yeah, the second one, it doubled. I don't think I never got a third one. I think they were pretty confident, like that it's a tested embryo. I had been pregnant before I had a live birth. Like I
Yeah.
think I was probably an anomaly to most of the people that
Uh-huh.
I think, right? Like it's not like,
I only got tested twice too.
oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot of people get three, sometimes four.
I've seen
Uh,
that too.
and I was
I
like, my
only did
doctor
two.
didn't do that. I mean, it wouldn't have changed the course of anything, right? But so interestingly though, so I think the harder part was, well, first that 2 weeks waiting, but then I knew I had to wait 2 more weeks to see the heartbeat. And I think that was like pretty scary. And one night, like 5.5 weeks, I started bleeding like pretty bad. Like it wasn't like a little bit. And I was like, oh, it's over. And I started like screaming and like I was trying not to yell too loud because Sailor was sleeping. And Mitch was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm bleeding. So I ended
And
up calling
it was
my,
red too, right?
oh yeah, it was
Okay.
it was like a period. Yeah. I mean, it
Okay.
was bad. It wasn't like gushing out of me, but it was enough that it was like it was
Yeah,
pretty good.
anything. Yeah,
Anything, yeah.
anything.
So but it was 9 o'clock at night. And like, they're like, they tell you, well, if it's filling up a pad in more than an hour. And I'm like, no, it's not like that, but it's still blood and you don't expect it. Like I never bled at all with Sailor. And like I said, I'd been pregnant. So it was very shocking to see that, right? Like knowing that I was pregnant. So I called CCRM and someone had to call me back because it's after hours. I called my OB, someone had to call me back. I just called like everyone I could call basically. And CCRM finally called me back and they're like, just come in tomorrow at whatever time and we'll do a quick ultrasound just to see if everything's okay. But they're like, we don't know what we're going to see because it's only 5.5 weeks. Like, I don't want to make any promises to you that we're going to see something because it's so early. So didn't sleep, I don't think at all. Like I was like, it's over, it's over, it's over. Like I was just convinced that it was over. we do this ultrasound and I just remember seeing like a sac and I see like the little dot and I'm like, oh my God, like, and then the nurse was like, no, like, and they could see the heartbeat, just not hear it because it's way too early to hear it, but they could see it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like there's a baby in there, like, and they're like, yeah, they're like, see, I had an SCH, I had a subchorionic, whatever it's called, subchorionic hemorrhage, which now that I've read up on it, like 90% of the people doing IVF have, I mean, there's such a high percentage. So many people I know ended up having that bleeding around that time-ish from like an SCH. So, and they could see it on the ultrasound, like a little blob, like above. And they're like, it'll probably go away, but if it does, like, you might bleed a little bit longer. But the baby's in there, the baby's like heart's beating. I was coming in anyways, like literally 5 days later for the actual real 6-week appointment or whatever. So I went and like the baby had already grown, the heartbeat was even better, like the SCH was almost gone. So like everything from there on out was like great. But that was a few scary. I was still like a little nervous until I got to like the 12-week mark, like just like knowing that I'd never had that issue before. Like I was like, why
Yeah.
did that happen? But from what I understand, like I think all the medication, the progesterone, all that stuff like can cause the SC. Like it's pretty common in IVF for some
Yeah.
reason.
Now,
So
how was it getting past 9 weeks?
yeah, I mean, I was like, I think I was okay. Like luckily, like I said, I could go in every week. And I remember, so I called my OB, like my OB hadn't heard from me in a year. Well, I'd gone in for my normal exams, but like never, like I hadn't talked to her in almost a year because I was doing all this stuff with the fertility clinic. So I didn't need to go see her, right? Like why
Uh-huh.
go to two doctors for the same thing? So I called, and of course, just someone at the front desk, like they don't know who I am from a hole in the wall. And they're like, well, technically, you're not supposed to come in until you're like past this. Like, I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't understand who I am. Like, this is not how we're gonna do this. And so I
Uh-huh.
was like, can you leave a message for her, like for Dr. Offerdahl? Like, she'll know who I am. Don't, she won't be like, you know what I mean? I was like, no, I want to come, like, I'm graduating from the fertility clinic at 9 weeks. I want to see her at 10 weeks. Like, because they were telling me like 12 weeks. And I was like, no, I'm not waiting 3 weeks. So thankfully, she did get the message and I got an appointment like within a week of my last fertility appointment or fertility
Uh-huh.
doctor appointment. But I was like, no, you like, this is not okay. And I had said, like, this is what happened at like 5.5 weeks. Like, we need to make sure nothing else is going wrong, etc. So they're like, okay. So yeah, I mean, but it's like I had to like beg and plead for someone to like leave a message for her. But
Uh-huh.
once we got past the like miscommunication or just kind of like not understanding how like important it was for me to be seen like consistently, it was okay. But that was a little bit frustrating in the beginning that they were like, no, sorry. Like I was just like a normal like 44-year-old like pregnant person. And so interesting this time too, I got an MFM right off the bat. So that was awesome. Like because I was now at the point of Sailor wasn't IVF and I was only 40, so I never had an MFM in the first pregnancy, even though I was 40 there was no like IVF component and I think obviously it was a natural pregnancy. So the combination of donor egg, IVF, and being 44 like put me into the like you need two doctors category. Like I really made me feel so much better knowing I had like alternating appointments with them and that the MFM did everything like more in depth. Not that there was anything wrong that my doctor did, but it was just like they look for a lot of different things and like they know the whole like they see a lot more patients with like donor egg or donor sperm or donor embryos or whatever it might be, right? So
Uh-huh.
they're aware of all the complications that could happen and they look for different things, right? So
Hmm.
I felt a lot more comfortable about that.
Yeah. Was there any products or anything that you could recommend that helped with pregnancy?
Hmm. I did not buy a Doppler.
That's
My
what
husband was,
Jamie had.
I wanted to, but he was like, you're not getting one. You already have way too much anxiety. It's just going to make you crazy. And I'm not a doctor. And like half the time I probably would have found like my heartbeat instead of the baby's like just wasn't worth it. Both pregnancies, I was very like nauseous until 20 weeks, not throwing up, but nauseous the whole time. And so I
Mhm.
ended up on the diclegis medication that they prescribe
Uh-huh.
from the doctor's office. But you can also use like, I think it's like a combination of like B12 or something. There's like a natural remedy too.
Hmm.
But other than that, no, I didn't really like use any specific products. Once I got past my grilled cheese phase, like I definitely tried to eat like more healthy, but that was all I could get down for the like those like handful of weeks where I was so nauseous. The first pregnancy, I exercised the whole time. I was probably the most fit I've ever been. I only gained like 25 pounds with Sailor. I gained a ton of weight after I delivered Sailor. And then having a toddler or even a 4-year-old, whatever she was when Jensen was born, like I did not have time to exercise that much. Like I tried to go on walks and things of that nature, but it just was so much more difficult having another kid in the house and like trying to like I definitely feel 4 years made a difference of how I felt during my pregnancy. Like I felt way better pregnant with Sailor than I did with Jensen. Like I was just way more tired, way more sore. My bones hurt more. Like
Uh-huh.
I had a lot of round ligament pain around like 20, 25 weeks. Like I thought I was gonna have to go to the ER when I was visiting my parents. Like
Oh.
I thought I had a UTI. It was just round ligament pain. Like everything was fine, but it was just hard. Like it was just harder to have, my body just wasn't in as good of shape and I was older. So everything was good up until like 36 weeks. My blood pressure started creeping up and it just started creeping up and creeping up. I went in for my 37-week appointment and I never went home. It was like 184 over like 90 or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Mm.
But I didn't know it was high. Like I was very tired, but like I wasn't like swollen. I mean, I was swollen a little bit, but I didn't have those normal signs of like high blood pressure where you press your skin and it won't like, it just stays like a big dent. Like I didn't have that. But I mean, I was finally convinced her. I'm like, can I just go home and pack a bag? She's like, you didn't pack a bag yet? I'm like, no, I'm only 36 weeks. Like, no, I didn't pack a bag. So I'm like, can I just pack a bag and like say goodbye to Sailor? Can I go get her from school and like then go to the hospital? Okay, fine. So it's so funny. Like literally, we went home. I had 1 hour. She gave me an hour. I packed a quick bag, and Mitch literally got Sailor. I said bye to her, and I tucked it and rolled. Like they dropped me off at the hospital. I walked out of the car by myself, and they drove off. Like
Oh my
it was.
gosh.
There was no like hugs. Like I'll see you later. Like because they wanted me. They were like, we don't want you at home. Like we want to monitor you. Like and there was a chance I wasn't going to have to stay. So I think in the back of, I mean, I knew in the back of my head I wasn't going to go back. Like I was going to be delivering him soon, but like it was so different. I was more worried about Sailor than I was about myself. Like let's make sure she
Yeah.
has some, like because he went and like packed her a bag, dropped her off at our neighbors, like that we called way sooner than we thought we were gonna have to call her, like to take Sailor because she had to go to school. I mean, it was just like it was so different when you have another child. It's not like he could just walk in with me and we could leisurely like walk into L&D. Like it just didn't work that way.
Uh-huh.
So I go up by myself. They hooked me up to a bunch of stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, your blood pressure is really high. We're gonna give you some magnesium," which is the worst thing in the world. It's awful. It makes you feel like you have the flu. It makes you feel like you're
Oh.
gonna throw up. But that's the only thing that'll like lower it.
Uh-huh.
And once you're on it, like you have to be on it. Like I never got off of it until after like Jensen was delivered. And they're like, okay, well, it's not really going down. And like I think overnight into the next day was when I turned to 37 weeks. And that's technically not considered like premature anymore. Nevertheless, they're like, okay, let's start inducing you. So like the next day. So yeah, I got there on like a Monday. I didn't have Jensen until Thursday. It was like the same thing as Sailor.
Uh,
And so they started inducing me. Nothing really happened. And this time around, I went through Rose Hospital, which is our hospital in Denver, has a doula program
uh-huh.
internally. So we had already like decided we were going to go that route this time and see if it like helped and made my anxiety a little bit less. And just, I wanted like a calming presence. And so I think like, I don't even know what day, Tuesday afternoon, we're like, why don't you come? Like, I'm sure he's going to be here by tonight. Cause I had already been like, on the induction medication for like a whole day.
Were you on Pitocin?
Yeah, and they just,
Okay.
kept increasing it. Finally got it to the most they could get it. And then they're like, yeah, you're still not dilated. And the doula stayed overnight with me Tuesday night into Wednesday. And then she had been working for 12 hours and she had to like that's like their limit, at
Uh-huh.
least with this program. And they're like, we can send someone else, which we were willing to pay for. But I was like, well, I'm not gonna waste another like $1,000 or 500, whatever it was. Like, and if we know if the baby's not coming anytime soon. So we were just kind of like sitting on it, and then all of a sudden they checked me and I'm like 9 centimeters, and I'm like, oh shit, I guess the baby's coming now. It was like Wednesday morning, basically. Like, let's start getting you ready. So I think I had Jensen around like 12 o'clock, and I didn't push for very long. That was like pretty easy this time. Like it was so much, I knew what was happening, so it was just so different. But the doula was already gone at this point, but at least like it was, you could tell he was like ready to come out. So he comes out and he's got the cord wrapped a little bit. So they had to like
Oh.
untangle it, give him some oxygen, but he was okay. But I was like really worried at first because I didn't hear him crying. And I
Uh-huh.
was so exhausted by this point because the magnesium just makes you feel awful. It just makes you so tired and like out of it. So I remember like watching them take him. This is why I don't think I have a picture. I remember them taking him to the incubator and giving him a little bit of oxygen and like cleaning him up and untangle it. Like they had to untangle the cord. And then I don't think Mitch actually cut the cord because of all the stuff going on with Jensen. And then they're like trying to get the, deliver the placenta
Uh-huh.
and it wouldn't come out. And they're like, honestly, that was worse than pushing Jensen out of my body. They're like pushing
Whoa.
stomach, like it's like they're pumping my stomach or something. They're just pushing and pushing and pushing. Like 45 minutes go by and they roll in like a ultrasound machine to look and see if there's anything left, and they see a little bit. So they take like this big ice cream scoop tool. It looks like an ice cream scoop. I don't know what it's called. And they literally like go in and like scoop out the rest of the placenta. And they're like, okay, like there's nothing on the ultrasound. Like I mean, I could see the ultrasound. It's
Uh-huh.
out. You're good. They give me some medicine to like kind of rest and go to sleep, like some pain meds or whatever. And it's just like, okay, like this is like a half an hour later. Like Jensen's he didn't have to go to the NICU. Like he was stable. They were like cleaning him up still, but like wrapping him up. He's like, I'm gonna go get Sailor and bring her back. So I'll be back in like an hour. I was like, okay, I'm gonna sleep. Literally, I mean, Mitch said he like got to the car and had started driving away. I roll over and I just feel this gush come out of me. And I'm like, that's weird. I shouldn't have any amniotic fluid left. And then
Yeah.
I feel like I was gonna pass out. So I found somehow found the button like somewhere. I don't know where it was, the red button, and pressed it before I like went like blacked out or whatever. I don't think I blacked out. I don't think I got to the point of blacking out. And they come running in and there's just blood everywhere, like all over the floor. It's everywhere. So I'm hemorrhaging is what's happening. But I didn't know that. I thought it was just fluid or something. I don't know. I thought I like peed my pants. I didn't know what happened, to be honest.
Yeah. You
But
were trying to sleep.
I could tell something wasn't right because I could hear the blood pressure machine going off. And I felt like I was going to pass out. And that's usually what happens when your blood pressure gets too low.
Uh-huh.
Well, I guess it went down to like 50 over something, my blood pressure,
Whoa.
and I lost 2.5 liters of blood, I think. And
Wow.
this all happened in like a 3 minute like span. It wasn't very long. Me
Uh-huh.
rolling over, like fine, like if I didn't roll over, I mean, it still probably would have happened. But I think because I like moved, so like I had to like pick myself up almost and move myself because I had all these things attached to me.
Uh-huh.
So like all these people come running in because everything's beeping and they're like, "Where's Mitch?" And I'm like, "I don't know. He just left to go get a sailor. Call him." And I'm like, "You want me to call him right now?" Like, I don't know what's happening to me. So I give someone my phone. I don't even know how I did that, but I remember giving a nurse my phone and they call him. They're like, "She's hemorrhaging. You need to come back." And he's like, "Oh my God." So he like threw the car in reverse, like parked in some illegal like parking spot, I think. I don't even know. Ran back into the hospital. I mean, he had only maybe driven like 1 minute, runs back up, and he comes in and he sees like blood all over the floor and them like unhooking me and like I had to sign. I remember signing like a clipboard because they're like, "We might have to take your uterus." I'm like, I don't care. I was like, "You can take what
Whoa.
you want. Just make sure I live. Like,
Yeah.
take all my organs. Just give me, leave the ones I need to live." And but they're like, "Well, that means you won't be able to have like another baby." I'm like, "That's fine." Like, just I knew we weren't gonna have any more kids. So like, but I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just like, just save me. Because I knew that like things were not going well. I could tell, like, I didn't feel right at all. And I kind of so all I remember is like them unhooking me, all and I hear code white over the intercom, and I'm like, is that like code blue, like in the movies? Like, am I dying? Like, I didn't know. Like, I mean, it's funny now because like the stupid things I said, like who thinks of that when they're like in that situation? But I was like, they're like, no, that means the mom's in trouble, like, and they need all the doctors on hand like to come. And so Mitch just said there was like 12 or people in the room and like they're unhooking me and then they rushed the bed. Like it's like the movies. Like I was like, they were all running down the hallway to surgery and they left Mitch in the room with my blood all over the floor. Like
Oh my gosh. Like a
perfectly.
crime scene or something.
Exactly, for like an hour. They didn't come back for like an hour.
And he's like, what is going on?
Oh, he called my mom and his mom and was like, "I don't know if I'm going home by myself. Like, I don't know if Tyra's gonna live or die." Like, that's how bad it was. Like, I mean, they were like scaring and not purposely scaring him, but it was like pretty dire. Like, I was losing way too much blood and they couldn't like replace it fast enough, I guess. And my blood pressure was dropping. I mean, it was just like bad. So I finally get to the OR and I remember them like, there's like all these anesthesia people around me, but they never put me to sleep. They kept me awake because they needed to make sure that I could answer questions, I guess. I don't really know why they kept me awake, but
Uh-huh.
it's almost like I was like in a robot. Like, have you ever had nitrous oxide at the dentist? Like laughing gas?
I don't think so.
Okay. It kind of feels like you're in this like your voice sounds funny and like it's like kind of like it's like you're very fuzzy. It's like you had like a lot to drink, I guess is how I describe it. I
Yeah.
don't think that's what they gave me, but it was like I was so sedated, but I could still hear everybody, which was
Uh-huh.
even worse because I couldn't like form words really, but I could hear what everyone was saying. There's like 15 people in the operating room. And so basically what they did is I think they like had to so there what happened was is there was still a piece of the placenta left and it shouldn't have been in there. And they I mean it really I can't even get mad at anyone because I looked at the ultrasound too, not that I know what I'm looking at, but like there was nothing on the screen. So it
Uh-huh.
was a tiny little piece, but apparently like with I this happens a lot with an IVF pregnancy, it's not to scare you, but because you use all that progesterone and all those drugs to make the placenta to make your placenta stick,
Uh-huh.
right? And the baby stay in your uterus, it gets sticky and like doesn't come out the way it should.
Oh
Like I didn't have
no.
this problem with Sailor. So, but nevertheless, they were able to get it out, but I had to stay like kind of open wound on the table for an hour because they said if they couldn't stop the bleeding, they were gonna have to do a hysterectomy. So they were kind of waiting to see if it like I don't know if they cauterized something. I don't really know what they did besides get the piece of placenta out, but
Uh-huh.
they finally were able to stop the bleeding. But like I was so like just out of it. And like I just remember say I remember being able to find they must have like been weaning me off of the like sedation. I was like, did anyone ever go and talk to my husband and tell him that I'm alive? Like, I mean, I think I was like trying to joke around at this point, and they're like, oh shit, like we forgot about him. Like I
Wow.
remember. And then he's like, yeah, they finally came back in and like we're like, oh my God, we're so sorry we left you in here, but we were more worried about like saving your wife and like
Yeah.
friends didn't really care about you. That's not what they said, but like
Yeah.
he was way more has way more PTSD about the whole situation than I do because I don't really like
You
I
don't
didn't see
remember.
blood. I didn't see the crime scene. I just remember like parts of it, but like the parts I'm telling you, that part I remember, but I don't remember the rest of it. And then like
Wow.
after I came out of surgery, I had to go into this like weird recovery room and it was like super hot, I remember. And so I still hadn't seen Jensen. So this is like he was born at like 12. I think it was like 9 o'clock before I saw him
Wow.
PM.
Now,
I like
wait, you still have your uterus.
I still have my uterus, yeah. So they just like got the placenta out and like sewed me up or cauterized, whatever. And I got a
Okay.
blood transfusion. I got like 2 liters of blood.
Wow. So can you still have kids?
Yeah. I mean, we
Okay.
don't plan on having any more, but yes,
Sure.
they didn't,
Okay.
nothing happened to my uterus. But
Okay.
they warned me in the midst of all this, like we may have to, if you don't stop bleeding, we're taking your uterus.
Right,
Because it
right.
would be, I guess that would be the only way to make you stop bleeding in this situation.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really know
Wow.
the medical
Sure.
behind it, but yeah. So that was
Wow.
crazy though. That whole situation was so crazy. And I like still can't believe that even happened, to be honest. But I think part of it could have been like, I wonder if the magnesium had anything to do with it. I don't really know. Like it was just like a lot of complications at the end, but I was totally fine until 36 weeks, like no problems whatsoever.
Wow. So
But I
when
think
did
also the age and the blood pressure are correlated too. And maybe my weight, I don't know. Like it could have been a combination of things, right?
uh-huh. So when did you get to see Jensen?
Yeah, like 9 o'clock that night, I think. I remember
Wow.
them bringing him in and I could barely hold him because I was just so tired and like they kept checking me like every hour to make sure I wasn't like hemorrhaging anymore. And like it was just like it was awful. And I still hadn't like sat up or got out of bed, like nothing, because I was all hooked up to every like monitor you could possibly think of and still in a recovery like area. Yeah, and then I finally got to see him, and then I was just so exhausted. Like they're like, "Do you want us to bring him to the nursery tonight?"
Yeah.
And I remember waking up like Friday morning because I was, yeah, I must no Thursday. Thursday I was like starting to be more myself, and like they finally got me out of bed, but like I still had to wear like a lot of the compression things, and like they kept me extra, obviously. Like I didn't go
Yeah.
right because they wanted to make sure that I didn't have any complications. I mean, luckily I was totally fine. Like I didn't have any problems. I just needed to rest. And like I don't think I needed any more blood or anything either after that initial like blood transfusion, but
Uh-huh.
I was very weak. I almost felt like I had the flu for a couple weeks, but it was probably from losing all that blood, right? And like
Yeah.
going through the trauma, like the birth trauma, whatever you want to call it. But I don't really like, it's funny because people are like, aren't you like, don't you have these like bad memories? I'm like, no, I really don't because
You
I
don't have
don't.
any.
Yeah, I mean, I have some, right? Like the few things
Yeah.
I do,
Yeah.
but I don't really have like Mitch has worse memories than I do of it.
Yeah.
But no, and then I like remember spending like most of the day on Thursday with him, and then I think I finally went home on Saturday. Like Sailor came like Friday with my mom and Mitch. So I finally got to see her. And then, yeah, I think I went home Saturday, but I was pretty like weak for a while. And then they put me on high blood pressure medication because they were like, well, see, this is like, you had all these problems. I literally like just about passed out in the shower because I didn't need it anymore. Like I think as soon as I got home and got back to like normal, like walking around and eating and like, yeah, I was exhausted from having like all this happen in a newborn. So they're like, oh my God, like what's your blood pressure? So I had like a cuff at home
Hmm.
and it was like 80. And I was like, they're like, oh my God, like don't take that medication anymore. They're like, it's working too well. Like, you need to just stop taking it. And so I did. And then it finally like leveled out after a couple of days. But
Uh-huh.
they're like, I'd rather it be like 140 than like 80, right? Because I kept like
Yeah.
feeling I was gonna faint. And they're like, you don't want to drop the baby. Like, I mean, I was just kind of a mess for a couple of days as far as just like I couldn't get myself together. But
Yeah.
once I started to feel better, it was much easier.
Now, because you were so weak during those few days, was your milk coming in at all?
I don't think so. I don't remember having any. And I think I remember taking out the pump, like literally, this pump literally saw nothing as of me. I ended up giving it away and I'm like, this has been used twice. I used it once for Sailor and once for Jensen. And I got like a half an ounce and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have the same problem. My husband, I love him to death, but he's like Mr. Supplement King. And he tried, like, tried to do the same supplements we did the first time, didn't work. Like oatmeal. I mean, I still eat oatmeal every day. Like all the things they tell you to try, like it didn't work. So I
Hmm.
just nursed him. And I didn't even like with Sailor, I think I stopped at like 5.5 months nursing, like because I had 6 months off from work at my old company that I worked at. This time I had gotten, oh, in the middle of all this, I got laid off. My company got sold, but they couldn't fire me because I had had a baby. So thankfully they had to keep me on and pay for my 3 months of maternity leave. I ended up looking for another job the whole maternity leave. I got the job offer like January or February, and then I went back to work in March. So I only had 3 months off with him, which is disappointing. I had a job that's, it was good that I had a job. So
Yeah.
that was important. But yeah, it was a very quick maternity leave and didn't really feel like one, to be honest. It was just felt like I was going through the motions.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I got a really long one the first time. 6 months paid maternity is amazing. So
That is amazing.
yeah, so I was really lucky the first time.
Well, how did you heal?
I think I healed pretty well. I mean, I think my only like lingering issue is I ended up needing an IUD, which was weird. It's hilarious that I have an IUD and I couldn't have like kids that easily, right? It's just like such a juxtaposition. But I was having like really irregular periods. They were super painful and I never had that like at all. I never had any issues with my cycle. I was every 28 days on the dot, like was on birth control forever, like never had a problem. But then after Jensen was born, it was just all kind of all wacky and like what just felt really terrible.
Uh-huh.
And one of the ways to regulate it was to get an IUD and not like, I didn't want to go on birth control again. I just don't love it. It doesn't make me feel great. And last time I went on it, I gained a bunch of weight and I already have a weight issue, so I don't want to gain any more weight. And so, yeah, it's been totally fine. It wasn't to prevent pregnancy, but
Right.
it seems to have regulated everything now. But I didn't have any other issues. Like I healed pretty quickly and
Uh-huh.
I didn't have, yeah, it was actually pretty normal, to be honest. It was
Uh-huh.
just like that week of being in the hospital of, all the
Yeah.
crazy stuff that happened. But it also kind of solidified, like, I did know going into it that we weren't going to have any more kids, but this like really solidified it, like
Yeah.
100%. It's just
Yeah.
not like it's not worth it. I mean, if we ever changed our mind, we would go the surrogate route, but I don't think I mean, we're like 99.9% sure we're done. We still
Yeah.
have two or three embryos, one being a mosaic, but they're just being paid for right now because we don't really know what we want to do.
Uh-huh.
I feel like it's complicated. We have actually met another dibling or whatever you want to call them, a donor sibling. He has two donor siblings out there that we know of so far. I put myself on the donor sibling registry right after he was born, like a couple
With
months
the
after.
fertility clinic?
No, this is a public registry that Wendy Kramer developed when I don't know if you've
Oh,
read any of her books, but she's
huh.
fascinating. I just listened to I can send it to you, a really good podcast that I forgot what the name of the podcast is, but yeah, it was a really fascinating interview. And I had read a couple of her books before. Once we went the donor route, but before Jensen was born, kind of while I was pregnant, just kind of like learn, right? I mean, I just didn't know much about anything in that world. She used a sperm donor, but still kind of all the same things apply and just tell your kids when they're young and just a lot of like good practices to use with how to talk to, my big thing is how do I talk to my child? That's like my biggest like I work on that a lot, especially now that he's 2. That's something that we just as of like in the last couple of weeks, he really is starting to understand a lot of
Uh-huh.
what like, we have a book, The Journey to You. It's by an Australian author, which is amazing. And he like knows the whole book now. And like the embryo on the wall, he's like, embryo in mommy's tummy, like, and then out came Jensen. Like, I mean, it's very choppy words, but like he understands. And he's like, oh, eggy book. He calls it his eggy book, and it has like little eggs all over it. And it's like the sweetest thing. And it just talks about how we use, a helper and an angel lady to complete our family. That's how it describes it in the book. So yeah, I mean, it's all of a sudden starting to click, now that he's a little over 2. I don't know really what he understands, but I think he's starting to get it, right? Like it's something I just always like, it's not that I worry about it. It's just like I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, right? So we were on the donor sibling registry, and about a year ago, we got like it was like an email. It's like you've been matched, and I'm like, what is this? Like Match.com, or did I forget to shut that off 100 years ago? Like what is happening? But it was another family who used the same donor, and it's been interesting. It's not exactly how I thought it was going to go, to be honest. It's just been a little complicated.
Like,
We're
have
very
y'all
different.
connected?
Yeah, we met in person. So like the mom and I connected through the registry, right? And we
Uh-huh.
like gave each other our phone numbers or whatever to not have to talk over their like website or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so they have 2 biological children and wanted a third and couldn't get pregnant with the third. So that's kind of they ended up using the same donor as us. And then they have their little girl, and then the husband kind of more decided than the wife, but they're done having children. And so they donated the last embryo to another family, and they just had their baby in July. So we have not connected with that family. I don't really know much about them, but it's the dad, half the dad and half the dad of the family I connected with and half the donor. So it's like, it just keeps going. It's like 7 degrees of separation, right? Like it's just this weird path of like where it goes. But so the little girl is like one, maybe 2 now, or no, maybe she's 1. Maybe she turned 1. I think she's a year younger than Jensen. And then the other little girl is like 6 months old. So there's 2 out there. We haven't been matched or connected with. So basically you go on the sibling, it's called the donor sibling registry. You go on it, you can put in your donor number, a little bit of information, like what fertility clinic, and then it just connects you when someone else puts that information in. It's that simple, which is pretty cool. Like, I mean, it has like, I think they connect like 10 to 20 people a day on the registry. Like it's
Wow.
pretty, like it works pretty well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'll send you the podcast that Wendy Kramer did. It's pretty interesting to hear her whole story. But
Yeah.
we wanted that because not to have like, oh, we want to have best friends and like I want Jensen to have the option to know his donor siblings if he wants to. It's
Yeah.
up to him. We agreed to meet up with this family because they're only 45 minutes away, right? And
Uh-huh.
they were coming to Denver. And so we met up with them. And I mean, the meeting was fine, but then we like Googled a few things. And after the fact, when we like saw their last name, just because I'm nosy and saw some interesting stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to back off a little bit. And I don't want to share it publicly, but it just wasn't the greatest. And maybe other people think differently, right? Like, but that's just how we have decided to kind of go down this path. But it's gotten complicated, I guess, is where I'm going with this story. Like,
Yeah.
it's not all roses all the time, is right. Like, and so I do understand why some people keep it private, but I don't regret doing the registry. I don't regret meeting these people. I don't regret being like very open about like the fact that he's from a donor. I don't regret any of that. I think it's all good for our whole family. It's good for him. And that's just how we want to live our lives. But I'm also going to protect my kid, right? Like,
Of course.
so it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
So when you were pregnant, did you tell a lot of people that you used donor eggs?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think maybe it was a little bit easier because we already had Sailor, right? Like But I think too, like just being in that support group really, really just brought a lot out of us. I didn't announce my pregnancy until I was like 24 weeks because it was COVID and like nobody saw me. I was like hiding in my basement.
What about with Jensen? When did you start talking to him
Yeah.
about that?
It's funny, it goes in spurts. Like sometimes like it happened lately, it's been a lot just because he's very interested in the book and he's very interested in like talking about the story in the book. So like and he's super talkative now that he's like I mean all of a sudden he hit two and he like just keeps talking all the time. But yeah, I think like even when he was a baby, I was like, oh, like we love you so much. And we used like a helper like to create you. And it was just very simple, like a 1 second like sentence, right? And I
Yeah.
would and then like once we got the embryo painted and put it over his bed, like once he started being able to point to things and like that kind of stuff. So we have like Jensen over his crib, the embryo over his changing table, and then behind it, like on the other wall, was like a picture of space, like outer space. So he'd be like embryo, Jensen space, and like we kind of go around the room and like door, and like once he started to learn like one word, like when he was about one, I feel like 1 to 2 was kind of when it like ramped up, right? Because before one, like I had no idea if he was even listening to me, never mind comprehending it. But now,
Sure.
I mean, he can repeat it. Like the other day, he was like, I read a story about my eggies. Like, I mean, it wasn't as succinct as that, but it was that's pretty much what he said. And I was like, whoa, like he came out of nowhere and said it. So I think he's starting to understand.
What about bonding? When you saw him that night,
Oh yeah,
it was just instant.
it was instant. Yeah, I actually think I had a harder time bonding with Sailor, and it was only
Really?
because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I think I was just so scared. I was like, what do I do with this thing? Like with Sailor, like, is she gonna break? Like, can she breathe? Like, is she gonna fall apart if I hold her the wrong way?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember like when Mitch had to go back to work after like I think he had 2 weeks of leave or some ridiculous short amount of time. And my parent like everyone had left by that point. My parents, his parents, and I was like, what do I do with this thing? Like I was really like, I was like, I don't know if I'm bonding with her. And then like after a few months, like, and I think I was also like super postpartum. Like I remember sitting on the floor in the middle of the living room, like crying on the floor for no reason whatsoever. Like, but I didn't have any of that with Jensen. Like it was very like natural and easy to bond with him. And I think it was almost like, wow, like we worked so hard to get you. It was almost like a relief, like, phew, like I can breathe.
Yeah.
It's just a different feeling. I mean, love them both the same, don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah.
think I have different experience with that kind of thought process.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm grilling you all these questions because these are my fears.
Oh, oh, it's I mean, I'm happy. You can ask me anything. I'm an
Yeah.
open book. Like, I'm
Yeah.
happy to answer any of them. But yeah, I felt like I bonded right away. And I think I had more fears about not bonding, like while I was pregnant, like kind of what you're thinking,
Yeah.
than when he actually came out. I mean, it just was weird that I didn't get to see him right. I saw him from a distance, but I didn't get to like see him right away,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to add to your pregnancy or birth?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm really thankful that you asked me to be on the podcast and that I'm here today. I think, it's great to share our story and just talk more about what we're doing, what donor conception's all about. And I think the more people share about it, the easier it's going to be for everybody. I know it's really hard and some people are super private, but I think it feels good to get it off your chest or get it like holding in things is harder than just being open about it, right? Like you don't have to be open about it with like the guy working at CVS, but you can, I think with people that you feel comfortable with. And I think education, lastly, is really, really important. I think I brought it up earlier in our conversation, but there's just a lot of people that don't know. And it's more of, it's not that they're against it or that they or just like, why are you doing this? It's more just they don't know what they don't know. And I think once you start educating people on the process and what you went through to get to this point, you really open a lot of eyes.
What has been your biggest challenge being pregnant in your 40s?
Being old and tired. You really want me to be honest. I mean, just yeah, even I mean with Sailor it wasn't as bad. Like I said, I was way more fit and not, but yeah, I just think having like a toddler running around while you're pregnant. And also, I mean, it's just harder when you're older. You're just not as like energetic. At least I wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I think some people think maybe your answer would possibly be like what people think. But honestly, like I thought about that a little bit with Sailor, but then I was like, I don't really care what anybody thinks anymore. Like I don't care. If you don't like it, then too bad. Like don't talk to me about it. Like, and I never got that reaction to like that I would have been shocked if I got that reaction. I think if I was pregnant right now, maybe someone would be like, ooh, like you're 40, almost 47 and pregnant. Like that would be a question, but also like who cares? It's your
Uh-huh.
life. Do with it what you want. Like who cares? You just got to not worry about what other people think.
Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth over 40?
I think therapy support groups, honestly, like not saved us, but like it made us move forward with doing this. We wouldn't have Jensen if it wasn't for that therapist, probably. We maybe would be still sitting on the idea. I don't
Yeah.
know, right? Like, and just having a support circle around you. I think going to the CCRM support group, like I wouldn't have met Jeannie or Peggy and have those amazing friends. And just, I think it really helped us get through like every milestone, right? So I think just having that support system, and if you're able to afford and go to therapy, I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
Those would be my two recommendations.
those are good. What advice would you give yourself when you're pregnant if you could go back?
Don't be so anxious. It goes back to what I just said a second ago. But yeah, I mean, especially the first time. Yes, I was anxious with Jensen, but not nearly as anxious as I was with Sailor. But I also think it was unavoidable. I
Yeah.
had a miscarriage and then I had another one after Sailor. It's just when you've been through all of this, and failed IVF cycles, eggs not working, that you froze. Like, I mean, you go through all these things, you're going to be anxious. There's just no getting around it.
Yeah.
But I think that, and also like, take it day by day. I feel like my brain definitely goes to like, okay, what about like these next 6 weeks or this like what's going to happen at week 32.5? Like just slow down and try and enjoy it a little bit more, I
Yeah.
guess would be my other recommendation. Again, easier said than done, but if you can, try and enjoy it and take
Yeah.
lots of pictures. This is going to go by really fast.
Yes. I love that. And where can our listeners find you on the internet?
Sure. I'm on Instagram, Tara Carbo One, and I'm sure that you'll link it in the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm private, but I'm happy to share any information. I'm happy to answer questions. Send me a note. I think you can send a note even if I'm private with the three little dots, and then I can accept and correspond with you. So happy to do that with anybody.
Perfect. Well, Tara, thank you so much for your insight on donor eggs and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to chat with you.